Okay, so this is the second part of the Bond Basics Topic 1 tutorial. In the first part we looked at the ways to price a bond, and we went through all of these different steps, and now we're going to be looking at sort, filter, and pivot tables. So here is just a small set of data. Pretend for our example that this data went down, thousands and thousands of entries, and that's when you want to use these filters and sorts, is when your data has a lot of entries. So rather than just going through and manually trying to figure out and sort through the data, you can use this tool to help you. So you select all of your data, and you can go to sort, filter, and just do click filter, and what that does is it gives you these drop down arrows on the top of all the column headings. That's one way to do it. I prefer actually to go to format as a table, and any of these ones, and you click my table as headers. Make sure your table has headers here. Those are the column headings, because that's the best way to use this filter, the sort and filter. So if it doesn't, you have to add them, but right now we say it has headers, and we say OK. So right now we can go and proceed with the questions. Which loans have the default or probability of default greater than 40%? We can just click the down arrow, say number filters, and say greater than 40%. Click enter, and it automatically takes out all the data all the loans that the default probability is less than 40%. And that's a much easier way of doing it than having to go sort smallest to largest and then scroll down and find, okay, here are two that have it greater than 40%, and this is especially true if you have thousands and thousands of entries. So that was the first one. Now sort loans by size. I gotta press undo so we get back to the original, which I'll keep this. So sort loans by size, we say sort smallest to largest, and it goes through and sorts by size. That's pretty easy, and you can tell this little arrow here, it sorts. If it has a little up arrow, it means that it's sorting by that column. So highlight loans default greater than 10%, use conditional formatting. Here I would just I pressed undo, I will go highlight this whole row and conditional formatting new rule, and say format only cells that contain, the cell value is, we want it to be greater than 10%, so cell value is greater than 10%, that's okay. And, we want to set the formatting, so I'll make it white, bold, and orange. Okay. So now it sorted where the loan amount was greater than 10%. And if we were filtering by something else, you could see that it would already have these highlighted no matter where they are. So you could sort by interest rates. And this is neat thing, so you can see, well, if you have a lower default probability, you'll probably have a lower interest rate. So just ways to analyze the data. So now sort loans by default probability and school. Whenever you see "and" when you're talking about sorting, it usually means that you're going to have to use this thing called custom sort. So let's get rid of this conditional formatting. We can go to Alt, HL, and C. Alright, so now we go, I don't know why these are bold. So then we go to what's called custom sort. So you want to make sure you're clicking, you're within the data range. If you try to go out here and say custom sort, it won't work. So click inside, say sorts and filter, custom sort, and you add a level, and it says sort by, first we want default probability, smallest to largest, and we add a level, so it says first I'm going to pick which of these have the lowest probability of default and sort by that, and then if I have multiple entries that have the same default probability, I'm going to want to sort by the school name. So we say then by the school name A to Z. So press OK, and you see it already did this for us. So right here we see that the University of Richmond, Virginia Tech, and Washington Lee all have 10% default probabilities, but it first sorted by the 10% and then it sorted by the names. So let's go and look at this last one. So use a pivot table to calculate the average loan size and maximum interest rate for each school. Pivot tables are a great way to look at different sets of data and do analyze them without having to put in all these different equations. And it's in a fluid state, so you're allowed to go through and drag things and change things, and it shouldn't screw up your original data. So you want to click inside the field and go to Insert Pivot Table and select that and say in a new worksheet. So now it gives us a brand new worksheet, and we want to go to the right hand side here where it says everything. So right now the instructions said for each school, so we probably want the school to be in the rows. So now it's going to put the schools as rows. So this is just neat things. Now it asks for loan size and maximum interest rate. So we're going to take loan size and drag it down to values, and interest rates and drag it down to values. Now by default it just sums those, so this is saying this is the sum of the loans. So Boston College gave out $125,000 of loans total. Little trick, remember, click here, press Control-Shift number 4 and that'll give you dollars. Press Control-Shift number 5 and that'll give you percentages, rather than having to go through and formatting it. So right now it says the sum of the loan size, but if you remember we asked the average loan size, so we're going to go, rather than sum of loan size, we click Value Field Settings. We click this down arrow, we click Value Field Settings, and then we say Average, so it'll sort by average of loan size. So on average, Boston College gave out $41,666 of loans. So that is done there, and then maximum interest rates for each school. Right now it's just summing the interest rates, which doesn't make any sense for us. 132%, it just doesn't make any sense. So we want, instead of the sum of interest rates, we want to go through and say Value Field Settings and Max, and press OK. So now it says Boston College may have given out a bunch of loans, but the maximum interest rate was 14%. And Washington Lee did the same, and the maximum interest rate was 13%. However, the maximum interest rate for all of the colleges in Virginia was 14%. That was the maximum, and that was coming from Boston College. So that is pivot tables and sort and filter.